Hi, English 111. Welcome to Module 4, the last one. You've made it. There are two key elements to this module. The first is the last essay that you're going to write, which is the argument essay. I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. The other key element is called the final reflection. This counts as your final exam of sorts. A writing class is a really hard kind of class to like sit down and take an exam. So instead, you're going to be doing this final reflection that's going to ask you to think back on the essays you've written and the things that were working for you, the things that didn't work. So that kind of thing. So let's talk a little bit about the argument essay first, because that's the key piece to the beginning part of this module. So the argument essay is often kind of feared by a lot of students simply because we tend to relate the word argument to like arguments that we have with our siblings or our parents or our significant others or whoever. And they're these highly emotional, very confrontational, combative, uncomfortable kinds of conversations. That is not what an argument essay is. An argument essay is a logical, reasoned debate. And it's a way of picking a side of a debate and deciding how you want to argue that your side of the debate is right. So that's a key way to start thinking about topic choices in terms of debate. So what I need you to do is to read the assignment sheet really carefully, because there is a list of topics that you cannot choose. I have read, and every other English teacher in the world has read thousands of essays on these topics, and they've been so beaten to death that they're boring to read about. So don't pick topics that are on the no-no list. Instead, think about topic choice in a couple ways. First of all, it has to be a debate. There have to be two sides to it. Otherwise, it's not a really good topic. So don't argue that crime rates should go down. Well, yeah, of course, they should. There aren't two reasonable sides to that particular argument. So make sure that there are two sides. There are people on either side of whatever the debate is that you're choosing. You're just picking a side and arguing that it's right. Another thing to think about with topic choice is to think about something that you like and that is part of your life or the field that you're going into. Let me give you two really good examples that these are topics that students have written for this class, for this assignment. So one, she was going into secondary education. She wanted to be a high school teacher. And so she argued that high schools should start later in the mornings. So just bump everything later for the health and well-being of teenage students because of the way their brains are developing and their bodies. And she had all kinds of proof for why her side was correct. That's a fantastic argument. Number one, it was specific to what she wants to do, but it's very clearly a debate. There are a lot of people on both sides. There are people on the other side who say, no, don't start later, because right now the way it's set up, it works with parents' work schedules, or if we bump everything later, when are the sports teams going to practice or the band? So there are very clearly people on both sides. Great topic. Another fantastic topic was a student who was going into, I think, civil engineering. He was very interested in town planning, like how towns are laid out and that sort of thing. So his particular argument was that towns and cities should use roundabouts at intersections more than they use traffic signals. And that's an interesting debate, especially here in the United States. In Europe, they use a ton of roundabouts. It's not really a debate. But he had a lot of really interesting data about accidents and traffic times, all kinds of really interesting things. Clearly a debate. There are people on both sides of that. So those are two really good topics. So really challenge yourself in the topic choice part of the module, which you know in the first week, that's what you're sharing on your discussion board. So give yourself a chance to really think about a clear debate. There are clearly two sides. You are picking a side and arguing for it. Couple of things when you argue for your side. Number one, it's always a good idea to address the other side, to say, here's what they say. I know what the other side says. Here are their key arguments. Here's why that's wrong. By doing that, you build your credibility, because as a reader, I would read through that and go, yeah, this person's really done their homework. They've really thought about this from both angles. And so I tend to want to trust you more in the way that you present your side. So address the opposing side. That's always a very good thing to do. And then in your reading, you're going to see a discussion of the classical appeals. And they use the Greek words, because we still do in rhetoric, ethos, logos, and pathos. And you may have used these or heard of these before in another writing class or maybe a public speaking class, because they get used there as well. Those are three ways that you want to incorporate in your essay in order to be appealing to your reader, to be persuasive, because you're trying to get the reader to agree with you that your side of this debate is correct. So make sure you pay attention to those in your reading in the textbook, and really consider how your topic and your position on the topic can kind of be bolstered and be strengthened by the ways that you appeal to your reader. The last thing to think about is that in this kind of writing, maybe more than any other kind of writing, although it's true in every other kind of writing, it is so important how you say something. So yes, what you're saying, very important. Always has been, always will be. But how you say it is really key in an argument essay in order to be persuasive, to try to get your reader to agree with you. And yes, we talked about this when we talked about audience. Yeah, I'm your reader, but it's not just me. What does that mean? Well, it means your reader is academic and thoughtful and well-read and expects a really good persuasive essay. So it's not just me specifically, it's an academic audience. So how do you write that? So how you say something, just as important as what you say. All right, I'm looking forward to seeing your argument essays and what you're going to be writing about. And then make sure you leave a little bit of time toward the end of class for the final reflection. The due date is with it, just like every other assignment in the class. And I am excited to see what you're going to write about. All right, as always, if you have any questions, let me know.